Already?
Being recorded.
Good evening. This is the August 10th, 2021 meeting of the City of Jefferson Historic Preservation Commission. My name is Donna Dietz, and I'm the chairman of the commission. Please remember to turn on your microphones to speak so that everybody present can hear. You'll introduce yourselves. Start down at your end.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Brad Schaefer. Mike Berenson.
Alan Wheat.
Donna Dietz.
Tiffany Patterson.
Thank you. Rachel, you want staff?
Rachel Sinzi, city staff.
Carly Rinkemeyer, city staff.
The city code authorizes 9 regular members. A quorum of 5 members is necessary to conduct business. I declare the quorum is present. You have the agenda in front of you. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as written?
So move.
Second.
Motion on the floor to adopt the agenda as written. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Can I also have an approval for the motion to approve regular meeting minutes of July 13th, 2021?
Move that we approve minutes of the July 13th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Communications, Rachel?
From Donna Dietz, chairperson, about a grant opportunity, which we'll discuss later.
Okay. And new business. Section 106.
Yes, let me get my. Do I need to turn it on? Can you forward the slide for me, please?
Yeah. Doesn't like you, Rach.
That's because the slide's not up. We're rooting for you, Grant. There we go. New business is a Section 106 review for a community development block grant project located at 1214 West High Street. We had there was a pretty good little flash flood and it washed out their yard. And they have some draining issues that they have to deal with. And they do qualify under our emergency home repair program. Because it is federal dollars, it does have to go through the Section 106 review process, which is why we are looking at it. I can kind of flip through the photos. It's mostly just where it drains. It's draining into the structure. I think what you're seeing there is the alleyway used to have kind of a water directional flow to get into the stormwater, and it doesn't anymore. You can kind of see where it washed out in their front yard. This property is on the other side of the Lower Jefferson Reservation District. It is not technically within the local boundary. It is not on the National Register of Historic Places or within a National Register district. I put the forms of the motion up there. My staff recommendation would be adequate. The second one, adequate documentation has been provided. There will be no historic properties affected by the current project and is approved by this commission. But of course, that is up to the commission.
What questions do you all have for Rachel? Is this something in that whole area that's going to be an issue with that alley? And
I can't speak to that. I don't know. I do know, we are consistently having stormwater issues, but that's not in my realm. I do know that this neighborhood, everywhere kind of on the west side, really had some issues with that rain. That was a couple of months ago. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Since I live like a block away, literally a block from this, across the street, I mean, there were several yards that kind of slid into the sidewalk when earlier this spring, late spring. So something's going on.
Yeah, and they did go the neighborhood, again, I'm not public works, so I can't really speak intelligently to it, but I do know that there was some measures, but I don't even know what to technically call it. They went through and redid the street, and those measures weren't put back in place. However, there's other issues with just individual property maintenance, people not maintaining their gutters, and it, flowing into the
Multiplying.
neighbor's yard, and it's causing it's not one issue. There's a whole ball of issues that go along with stormwater problems that are happening in this city.
Can some of the grant money that we're looking at for, was it next May or whatever the application is, be used in any of that?
It depends on which funding mechanism. So there is one, which I did want to share. It's not actually on the agenda, but opportunity presents itself. The city is currently, we're in the process of applying for $2 million through the state CARES Act through CDBG. It does have some public infrastructure projects that we could utilize that for. And again, it's one of those things when you start working on stormwater projects and you fix a portion of it, you're kind of creating problems elsewhere because you fix that part and now it's overloading an old system. But yes, like we are looking at stormwater projects. There's a lot of funding that's coming down the pipe that we're hopeful that we can do some of our big infrastructure projects with, and that stormwater would be one of them.
Any other questions for Rachel? Do I hear a motion?
I move that adequate documentation has been provided and there will be no historic properties affected by the current project.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Rachel, other business.
Okay. Other business is we had our second Historic Preservation Code Revision Commission meeting, should be committee meeting last Thursday. And the meeting was targeting looking at designation and what requirements are there for designation. Donna, or Brad, do you guys want to give an update on how do you think it's going so far? You have a
personal opinion?
I do.
I think it's more of an education process at this point. The one big thing that everybody became aware of was the note on the landmark award designation actually carries with it, if you are a landmark award winner, your house is under the same stipulations that if you were in a historic district, as far as repairs, renovations, etc., that I don't think anybody who applies for a landmark award was actually aware of. I don't know if you've got one on your house, Alan, or not, but I know there's quite a few people that it was a surprise to them.
Right. So with the landmark awards, as a city, I think we've been treating them as like a recognition, almost like the equivalent of Historic City of Jefferson's Golden Hammer Award. But within our city code, you're drug in with the historic districts that have to do the 75% property owner sign off and have design guidelines that are associated with them. I know that we had a lot of landmark award properties owners in that room, and they were all surprised by that. But if it's going to be a local landmark, I think there needs to be a decision made that do we do something that's in recognition only, or do we do something that has some enforcement behind it, some teeth. And it just depends on if you go into the process as a property owner and you're wanting your property to be preserved and you go through this process, well, it's not doing that. And then also if you're a property owner that feels like you're getting just recognition and you don't have all of the property requirements and obligations, well, it's not doing that either. So we're really kind of letting our landmark award winners down a little bit. So we're going to go back and look at that process.
Brad, did you have anything?
Well, we got some. We started, yeah. We tabled a couple, like what's the percentage of property owners that need to sign off on it. Um, Also something that came up, so we have the Foot Historic District is not a codified historic district, but it was proclaimed one in a proclamation in 2016. And so then became, well, what do we do about history that doesn't exist anymore? How do we treat that? Do we put, because there's an archaeology component to some of those things as well. So it turns into something else that we have to look at. So it's opened up the can of worms at our first real meeting. So it's good, but I'm also I was proud of the progress and the conversations that were had, because I feel like everybody spoke up at the meeting. We'll keep plugging away at it, but I don't think it's going to be a fast process.
No, you don't have any quiet participants in that group.
No, and that's good. That's good.
Anything else on the code revision?
No, other than our next meeting is, now I'm forgetting. It's the Thursday before Labor Day weekend. You all are more than welcome to come.
Okay, preservation fund grants.
Yes, so we received our award documents for continuation along West Main, and it's been a while, but we are going to be able to hire a consultant to do survey work. The commission chose the Lower Jefferson subdivision in the Waterworks Complex architectural survey. So that concludes Fulkerson, the Waterworks, and the Lower Jefferson subdivision. So that will be surveyed probably starting in the spring. We also received a grant to redo the Historic East survey. So that will hopefully tell us if we've got that will tell us about School Street, if it's National Register eligible. That will tell us a little bit more about some of the neighborhoods that are further east. So I'm very excited about that one. So we can clean up our records a little bit. The historic context is likely coming. We haven't had the award documents yet, but I did the grant grantor called and had some questions about how we wanted to write stuff up in the contract. So I feel like that is also coming down the pipe. So yay, get 3 historic preservation projects happening next year. Which brings to the next Historic Preservation Fund grant cycle is now open. What would you guys like to apply for? So some of the ideas that we came up with, and this may be, so we talked about doing design guidelines. After our code revision is completed, we'll want to make some sort of document that is that explains everything that we did and makes it very apparent of how pictures and grant funding opportunities and citations and code. It's kind of a one-stop shop. And then it would also include updated design guidelines for our already existing local historic districts. But we can also do more survey. We can do other projects.
Have we ever done a survey of the downtown as such?
So
it's not included in East Capitol.
So there's two National Register districts.
Mm-hmm.
One's kind of the Capitol complex area, and then
Right.
there's one for the downtown. I think last year, well, maybe 2 years ago now, it was going to be a freebie project by the SHPO because they think the district can be expanded.
Mm-hmm.
And so that may be, that could be, and I don't think that would be a survey because the survey work, well, it might be because it was old. But it might just be a request to expand the district. So we can look at that.
Because I know there was some question about going on with the Main Street project, if there's other historic grant projects going on and expanding the whole idea of it.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, we don't have a shortage of projects that we could pursue. It's just what timing of it. Within your packet, there's kind of the guidelines of like what's eligible. We didn't include the whole application package, but that way you can see what kind of projects they're usually looking for. Of course, survey and national registers on there. There's also planning activities, which would be kind of where our design guidelines would go into. You can also do pre-development if there's if you want to do kind of like architectural, surveys or engineering work. If you know that there's a property that needs some engineering or architectural look-sees, they can do that. They do not fund kind of your stereotypical brick and mortar projects. So it's more of but there we could do educational type stuff. We could do workshops. We could do, basically everything that's listed under this project eligibility form.
And when is it due?
October 15th.
Realistically, we're probably not going to be ready for design guidelines.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If it
Or at least this year,
Yeah,
this
that's
grad
what I'm
cycle.
wondering.
yeah, well, so
Yeah.
if we were to apply now,
It
we
wouldn't
would
be
get
till
the
next year.
award in September of 22. And then we'd have to go ahead and select a contractor and whatnot. So we would be looking at the project itself happening in probably the spring of 23.
Which would be about when we're to that point. If I remember the end of the
Yeah.
ordinance group.
In fact, I could almost see some benefit to having a certain amount of the design guidelines being done concurrently with the
Mm-hmm.
codification.
Mhm.
So I was leaning more toward the design guidelines myself, getting started on that.
Okay. I think what Donna was like, or Tiffany is like, is that a time issue? I don't know. Well, but it'd either be we apply now or we wait until the project
following.
would be done until 24. And so if we got our code stuff done in 22, early 23, then we'd be waiting a year, which isn't that
Yeah.
bad. I mean, it's not terrible.
No, but I like the idea of the guidelines being done as we're finishing up that ordinance project and getting into the
well, it might be a good
next
hack.
step.
Like, look what we did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like a because when you make changes to the code, you go through all this work and then nobody reads. But you have your design guidelines will be a better, maybe a better resource for the community.
So do you want direction now, or do you want to wait until the next meeting so that everybody has a chance to kind of digest it and the rest of the group has a,
We could
minute to
wait.
wait
I mean,
in.
we can start working on we'll need a resolution. We don't have a resolution drafted. We'll need a resolution that we'll put together for the September meeting. I'll write that down. I'm going to forget. Harley's back there. She always catches me when I fall. Okay. So we'll have a resolution ready, but we probably as staff will kind of start working a little bit, at least like gathering the documents, because it takes a lot to put together an application these days. Is there anything else? So what seems to be the case is there's no other certified local governments in the state of Missouri that are actively pursuing these funds, and they have a hard time unloading them. They did three rounds. I know at least 2 rounds this year, just to try to keep going. And certified local governments automatically have to take 10%, and it's a I think it's a 1.1 or 1.2 million dollar allocation that Missouri received. So
we're kind of up on the top of the list.
well, we get that first 10% we fit in there, and then if other communities don't apply for the other 90, then we can start taking that as well. Usually the projects are about 50,000. We have requested more in the past and received with the structural survey that was conducted. That was a $78,000 project that we got additional funds for, so that was nice. But so what I'm saying is we don't have to limit ourselves to one project. This year or next year, we'll be doing 3.
Okay. If everybody can keep that in the back of their minds and come back to the September meeting ready to
Yeah.
bring forth some ideas.
And we have been kind of doing the further survey We haven't received our, I'm waiting for, so we also applied for the National Register nomination of Wilenko Place. I've heard unofficially that we're not going to get that one because the SHPO thinks that our districts should be more. They don't want us to pursue the National Register nomination until we have more survey work done along West Main, which is not what our consultant said. They recommended that it was ready for,
Go for it.
yeah. So whenever we get that denial, that's going to trigger, well, what's the boundary then? That way we can figure that out and pursue. But we can do further surveys along West Main. We could start going after some of our more commercial properties that, you know, if they become vacant, become a problem. Or, you know, take a look at the back of the historic preservation plan. It's got all sorts of action items
Mhm.
that we could pursue. I'll give you guys that as homework.
Thank you. We don't have enough on the list already.
I know.
Next on your items.
There is so I'm going to kind of jump down the schedule a little bit. Donna had sent, this is a communication that she had sent, the Peter H. Brink Leadership Fund. That's the last section of your packet. Basically, it's a small grant opportunity. It applies through the National Trust. It applies or provides $2,500 for kind of a Historic Preservation Commission education, professional development. So if we applied for this, we could physically, well, wherever we're at with COVID-19, but we could pay for you all to attend a conference or participate in a virtual conference. We could pay for that. Right now, the Historic Preservation Commission has a $500 budget. Just a reminder that $500 is out there. In the past, we've traditionally done paid for conferences and whatnot through that or online trainings. So the ones that are coming up, the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions has a summer short course, which is coming up August 24th through 25th. If you are interested in participating in that one, we could still sign you up and pay for it. So let me know, email Carly or myself and let me know if you guys would be interested in participating in those virtual sessions. So every 2 years, the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions, which is basically historic preservation commissions from all over the country, get together every 2 years and talk about all their historic preservation goodies. So the next one is in, I'm going to say Cleveland. It's Cincinnati. Is in Cincinnati, Ohio, July 13th through the 17th, 2022. If we were interested in participating in that, we could, or if you wanted to go, if you guys want to go, we can apply for this Peter H. Brink Leadership Fund and pay for you guys to go. Let me know if you're interested. I don't think Carly.
Anybody here at this point interested in attending that and learning more what they're doing across the country?
It's next year, so I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe, yeah. So this is the one there was one in Tacoma in 2020 that I was going to go to, and then they turned it virtual, and I think we made all those sessions available to you all. So they have the capabilities of doing it. Whether they're, I don't know. I don't know when conferences are going to come back into the.
I just think this is an opportunity for us to get the funding to help whoever can go or participate. And HCJ is looking at possibility of doing it as well.
Cincinnati is a very cool town.
Is it?
Yes, Cincinnati is very cool.
Especially if you like baseball.
Hey,
we had to look at the Cardinals schedule and see if they're playing Cincinnati at the time.
I see where your mind's going.
Road trip.
But we can get
HBC.
together and work on this.
No, if that's something that we want to do.
Do I have a consensus from the commission that Rachel pursue this grant to get funding for members of the commission to attend?
Sure.
So by general consensus, go for it, Rach.
Okay. On the next agenda, I am going to put, I'm just gonna jump in onto the other business. So let me pull up the date. Next June of 22. What is it? Oh, I'm in June of 21. Sorry. Let me get in the right
Missouri.
year. Okay. So next June 13th through 15th, the Missouri Preservation Conference, Jefferson City is hosting. So it's next June 13th through the 15th. There's going to be some planning activities, and being that it's June and we struggled this year with May as Preservation Month, I'm going to start putting those planning activities on the agenda, so we can maybe get some things ironed out and we could start working with some other community partners and getting our efforts together for this historic preservation conference, because it's our opportunity to show off. So we're going to show off. Just going to put that bug in your ear. And that's all I have for other business.
Does any other members have any other business to bring to the table?
No other business, but since we were talking about conferences and virtual conferences, the American Association for State and Local History, they're having an in-person conference in September, but they're having a full access virtual conference in early October, and it's only $55 for full access to their virtual conference. And if you are a lover of local history, they have a lot of good sessions and things.
Can you
along those
forward the
lines.
information?
I will try to remember to send it to Rachel and have her
Okay,
forward it.
text Tiffany.
Or yeah, because I will leave this room and forget everything that happened. So
Those I've never done a virtual one, but the in-person ones they're one of my favorite conference.
they are the best conference I have ever been to is AASLH. But I did the virtual last year, but virtual's not the same because it's like, oh shoot, I missed the conference, the session I wanted to go to. So because I was actually working. So
There's a lot of that.
but if you want to go in person, it's in Little Rock, Arkansas, so it's not that far away this year. But
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? We are out of here.
All right.